Well, hello pre-calculus students. I hope you are doing well. Thank you for watching the video yesterday and sharing your ideas. You guys had some great ideas. I heard things like the ATM set up like that, any sort of number pad is set up like that. Lots of times when you win a game on a video game, there's like the arrangement of top to bottom number, best player ever, and your initials and your score, and vending machines, machines like that. A couple people mentioned any sort of seating arrangement, which could include your lockers. It actually could include like parking lots. There's a lot of stuff that is arranged in matrices. And matrix math has its own area where it works really, really well. Some of you who are engineers, there are certain things you are going to do that are going to be like matrix math, and you're going to realize it's your whole life. There's others of you who, just like most everything else we do, you are going to use it this year and maybe never see it or have to use it again. But I want to tell you that today's lesson is not quite going to be as easy as yesterday's lesson, but don't take that and think, oh, this is impossibly hard. It's just not going to be as easy as adding. Adding and subtracting matrices was really easy. Hopefully you found that. All you had to do was make sure they lined up. Multiplying matrices, that's what section 6.2 is, 7.2 is. Multiplying matrices is a little bit trickier. So please make sure you're just kind of paying attention with me. I have this whiteboard behind me that I'm going to put some notes on, and we're going to use that. Okay, so here is the rule for multiplying. If you are going to multiply two matrices together, what you have to do is write the dimensions of them right next to each other. So let's say we had one thing that was like a 2 by 5. So the dimensions of my first matrix would be 2 by 5. The dimensions of my second matrix, let's say, are 3 by 2. I don't know. I'm just making up some numbers right here. These two numbers must match. Now, you're going to be reading this, and maybe if somebody is like just scrolling through YouTube and sees this, and they're going to be like, who is this math teacher that says these must match and has this example here? Do these two match? All right, since they don't match, if you were asked to do this, you would not be able to do this because there is a dimension mismatch. Okay? So just like yesterday, and on yesterday's homework, there were some questions that we could not do because the dimensions did not match up the way we wanted them to. However, let's say that we had a 4 by 2, but then our 2 by 3, please look right here. Even though my 2's look different, I never know how I write 2's and why I write them the way I write them. Are those both 2's? All right, since they are both 2's, yes, they match. Yes, we can do the math. And here's the cool thing. Our answer matrix will be a 4 by 3. So if you can do the math, if these two numbers match, since these are both 2's and they match, yes, I can do multiplication, and my answer is going to be a 4 by 3. And so we're going to kind of practice a few of those and just see whether or not we can do the matrix math. And I'm going to go through here on this board lots of times. So I'm going to set it back up here. Hopefully it will not fall down. Hopefully it will stay propped up for a little bit. But here are the matrices we're going to use throughout our day today. Oh, by the way, for today's participation point, you need to attach a Google Doc to the full list of things that I have. Today's list is not as much because it should just be the video and the homework, but you're going to add a Google Doc yourself, open it up, please put your name on it, please put March 18th on it, and what you are going to do is, first question that you're going to type an answer to is, you guys have had digital school for one day. I know that's not long. Did you think it was going well? Did you not think it was going well? Was there any teacher that you had that like did an amazing job and you're really, really glad they're doing it that way instead of normal? Maybe it really, really sucks and you're like, I don't get this yet. It's not fun for me yet. It's just something I got to do, which is true. But if you would please, that is what you're going to do for number 1. So you can think about that and pause the video. These are the 4 matrices we're going to be using. Please copy them down in your notes so that we have them. And again, if we are going to work through this, I need to make sure that we all have them copied down. So if you need to pause it longer, but we're going to go through a little bit of a progression of like which one of these can we multiply, which of them can we maybe not, and how can we do matrix multiplication. So the first one I'm going to ask us, I'm going to give it away already. We actually will be able to do the matrix math. It is one that we can multiply because I would like to get through one that we can multiply so that we understand how to do that. And then when we're doing more examples and I ask you to do an example maybe on your own, you're a little bit more familiar with it. So just like we do in regular math, we use capital letters, to label our matrices, but we write multiplication either with a dot or just by writing them next to each other. So I'm going to write this right here. Let's do A times B. It can be expressed that way, or you can just write AB. Right? Those mean the same thing. You don't need to write both of those in your notes, but just know that sometimes it shows up as A dot B. But there is something else that dot does really mean when you move on in matrix math. And then AB, this is both multiplication. All right, so if you look through your, look up above, who would like to tell me what the dimensions of A are? All right, the dimensions of A, if you look at it, it was a nice square one. There is some really cool stuff we're going to do in a couple sections that we get to do with square matrices, 2 by 2, 3 by 3, square. All right, so that is a square matrix of a 2 by 2. What are the dimensions of B? Thank you. It is a 2 by 3. And so look right here. Do these two match? Yes, they match. Yes, we can do this math. And so our answer is going to be 2 rows by 3 columns. Okay, and I'm going to kind of use that to help us out a little bit as we're doing our math. So since we can do the math, I am going to write down our 2 matrices as you need to do as well. Even though you've already repeated them, there is something we're going to do with these, and that's why it is always, always important that you write them down. And hopefully I am writing these correctly. 4, -2, 5, 3. And then B right next to that is 8, 3, 1. -2, 5, 6. It's also very important that you write it down because in case you make a mistake, if you're using these numbers that you have right here and you do the correct math, you guys know that I like to try to give as many points away as I can. And so if you have wrong numbers but kind of are doing the right math, then that's okay. I'll still kind of give it to you. All right, so this is now, I'm going to try to prop this up here so we can do a little bit of easier matching up and stuff like that I have them written. Would you please circle entire rows in the first matrix? So this right here is a row. I'm going to circle it. I'm going to circle it. All right, so you have 2 rows. The first row is 4, -2. The second row is 5, 3. I'm going to pick up, I brought blue and purple home. Those are the colors I have here at my house. I should have maybe grabbed another one. Maybe they look different enough on the computer. I don't know. But actually in the second matrix, so this is how you always do it. In the first matrix, you're going to circle the rows. In the second matrix, you're going to circle the columns. Now, if you look at that, that means every single circle has 2 numbers in it. This time, every time it changes, it's 2 because this number in the middle was 2. But it has 2 numbers in it. So since there are 2 numbers in it and we're doing multiplying, we're going to have to multiply 2 numbers together. And so I am going to need to like erase a little bit or do some work down here and eventually get my answer. So I have a piece of paper already lined up, not with all the work. The work is going to show up here, but then I'll express the answer as we work through it together. So what you do is you start out with your first circle here, which is 4, -2, and your first circle here, which is 8, -2. So you're going to multiply the first things that you see together. So I see first is an 4, and first is an 8. So right here, I'm going to write 4 times 8. But then I also see a -2 and a -2. So I'm going to write -2 times -2. But guys, if this is just one circle times one circle, I should only get one answer. And please let math always work itself out. But in order to combine these two, we're going to write a plus at first. Now this time it happens to be a -2 times a -2, which is going to become +4. But you're going to add those two values that you get. So if one of the values is negative, there is a chance you could subtract. But that was just matching up my first with my first. Now this is first and it's on top. So anytime I use this, it has to go in the top. And since I used this, it was on the left, so I had to write it on the left. So as I make my way, would you agree this is still in the top? Good. And this is in the middle. Thank you. So in the top middle, I'm going to write 4 times 3 plus -2 times 5. Don't worry, we're going to do a little bit more with all of these. What's 4 times 1? So you can already see where we're going. And -2 times 6. And so you quite literally use the numbers 4 and -2 every single time for that one. So now let's move down here. What is 5 times 8? See, the way I'm asking it, you're already sort of wanting to say the answer for that, but don't forget, there's two parts of it. 3 times -2. 5 times 3. And 3 times 5. There are times things like that will work out. It doesn't always work out that way though, just so you know. 5 times 1. And 3 times 6. And as you guys have known me for a while, I always say this class should not be called math class. It should be called, patterns. So would you please, looks like I have to pick this up just a little bit. Would you please look at this pattern right here? I really wish, hold on just a second. I want to get something so I can prop it and hold it and use my hand. Very good. Would you please look at these two numbers right here and these two numbers right here? Okay, and that's because they were the first one here, so those are the first ones there. Would you look in the middle then? 3, 3, 5, 5, 3, 5, right? So hopefully you're seeing that pattern. And then if you look across the top, 4, -2 was in the top, and look every time 4, -2, 4, -2, 4, -2. So there is a pattern that goes on with this. Now, you might be looking at this and saying, hey, Ms. Jabs, you were saying some stuff before and we were saying answers. So this is the weird part. I am going to do the math and kind of like write it here and then ask you if we can even simplify it a little bit more. Sorry that I moved that now. Let me see if I can get this a little bit more propped up so it's a little bit easier to see. All right, so the first thing we have is 4 times 8, which is 32, right? 2 times 2, they're both negative, so 4. Do you know what 32 plus 4 is? All right, so I am going to start writing my answer matrix. So when you do this math, you can do all of that. Some people can do this in their head. Some people need to write every step down like I have behind me. But when I would do this, what I'm writing in pen right here is the final answer. Because you guys would all agree 32 plus 4 is 36, okay? In the middle, I would get... Thank you. 12 plus, 12 plus -10 and 12 plus -10. You can change that one to subtraction. 12 minus 10 is 2. The last one, I would get 4 minus 12. Notice I'm not writing it anymore. If you want to write it underneath there, you can. I should probably move over there and write it. But I have 4 minus 12. 4 minus 12 is -8. Next, I would have 5 times 8, which is 40, and 3 times -2, that's -6. 40 minus 6 is 34. Next, I would have 5 times 3, which is 15, and 3 times 5, which is 15. So 15 plus 15 gives me 30. And then I would have 5 times 1, which is 5, plus 3 times 6, 18. 5 plus 18 is 23. So your answer would be right there, written in pen. Started with that. It is okay if you do work. Sometimes when people do this, they just jot their work off to the side here. Some people can do it in their head. Some people need a little bit on the side. Some people need to keep it very arranged like I did back here. You guys know when you're doing work for me, as long as you kind of show a little bit, like I maybe need to see some work here rather than just the answer. But yeah, like I said, it's not hard, but it's not just like 4 times 8, boom, done. Okay, you got to take a little bit of a process to get it done. So that is one that you can multiply together. All right, let's think about regular math. If this was regular math class and we did A times B, if we flipped it around into B times A, we would get the same answer. But let's look up here at the board, and I'm gonna erase. So, oh man, what did I move the eraser? Let me erase a little bit here and move over here. Sorry, I'm gonna be off screen kind of for just a minute. So let's now talk about B times A. So if I had to do B times A, I would have to list the dimensions of B first. And if I'm going to list the dimensions of B first, that means I have to write 2 by 3 first. That's what I would have to write first, because that's the dimensions of B. That's the first one I'm asked about. And then I would have to write 2 by 2 second. Sorry, sometimes I've been underlining. This time I chose to circle that. Do those two values match? Okay, then you write down dimension mismatch. And move on to the next problem because you are done. As soon as you realize those two numbers in the middle do not match, say dimension mismatch and move on. All right, so I am just going to do this one on the paper, but I'm going to hold it up for you as well, and we're going to kind of talk through it together. So let me get adjusted kind of back here again for this. Let's do B times D. Again, I don't know why this time I chose to write it as B times D, but I already have it written out for you, 2 by 3 and 3 by 2. That means we can do it because those two 3's in the middle match. I said that weird. You have 3's in the middle, they match, and then our 2's. So I got a couple pens here. What do I circle in the first one? Yeah, I know we've only done it once. So guys, in the first one, you circle the rows. So please notice I circled rows in pink. The second one, you circle the columns. And if you notice, this time it's a little bit different. There's 3 numbers inside each problem. Okay, there happens to be 3 numbers inside each problem. But that's okay, we can do all of those at once. Now, depending on who you are and the way I would do this, okay, I'm going to hold it here and say it. And some people are going to say numbers in their head and just be able to jot those numbers down. And some people need to write down exactly what I say. But do you see how first we would get 8 times 4? It's kind of weird. You got to work across this way, but down this way. 8 times 4. I already said that one. That was a repeat. 3 times 6. 1 times -4. Now, all 3 of those values need to go together this time because there's 3 numbers in the circle. That means there's 3 numbers I have to combine. 2 of them are positive. 1 of them is negative this time. So once again, like I said, I sometimes will start, once people get the pattern of this, as soon as they see 8 times 4, they'll just write down 32. And next you get 3 times 6, which is 18. And last is 1 times -4, which would give us -4. And yes, sometimes these numbers we get are kind of big. 32 plus 18 is 50. 50 minus 4, I believe, is 46. I really hope it's 46. If I did some wrong math there, once in a while that happens, but I'm pretty sure that 32 plus 18 gives me 50 minus 4, 46. All right. So next I get 8 times 5. And again, sometimes people are already like, oh, Miss Jabs, 8 times 5, why don't you just write down 40? Okay, so I'm making another little list over here on the side. 8 times 5 is 40. 3 times negative 1 is negative 3. And 1 times 5 is 5. I'm going to do this one a little bit out of order because just my mind likes it better. I'm going to do 40 plus 5, which is 45. 45 minus 3 is 42. And please notice, I was still using the top row, but the second column, that's why I put it in the top row, second column spot. I'm done with the top because I matched up the top with 1, the top with 2. And please remember, since those 3's match, my answer is going to be 2 rows by 2 columns. So here's my first row with 2 numbers in it. And so now I'm going to move on to the bottom row. What's negative 2 times 4? Okay, negative 8. What's 5 times 6? Yep, thank you, 30. What is 6 times negative 4? Negative 24. Okay, because I want to do this one in my head. Don't feel bad if you have to pull out a calculator. But 8 and 24 are both negative, so I'm going to add those and get negative 32. But then I have a positive 30. And so the difference of those two is 2, and the 32 is bigger, so I'm pretty sure you should get negative 2. And then I have negative 2 times 5. That gives me a negative 10. 5 times negative 1 is negative 5. And 6 times 5 is 30. Oh yeah, that's a negative 15 plus 30. Negative 15 plus 30 is positive 15. And so if we do the work like that, that is what we would get. All right, guys, I know it would be really nice if I gave you a whole bunch that would just be like, cannot multiply, cannot multiply. But since the way we're having digital school right now, and I can't really I can try to have you do a practice problem on your own, and that's about what I'm gonna do. There might be some of you who say, Miss Jabs, you have done 2 problems with us. You want us to do a practice problem on my own. I am nowhere near ready. There's Google Hangout. We can be emailing back and forth. A couple of you I know have my phone number just because of different reasons. I am not afraid if you want to try to call me and you're like, Miss Jabs, can I please call you instead? And can we talk on the phone? That is perfectly fine. Sorry, I know I don't have an iPhone, so we can't FaceTime, but Google Hangouts has a thing where you can call in video chat and we can be looking at each other and things like that. So I am going to ask you to do, please find C times A. Okay, I'm going to ask you to find C times A. And I have it already done because I knew this was the last example I was going to do. And so please hit pause on your video. And when you think you have it solved and you want to hit unpause, maybe that's why you're continuing now. If you still haven't done it yet, you need to hit pause pretty soon because I'm about to show you the answer. But to get your participation points for the day, and again, as you've been doing that, some people are like, oh, Miss Jabs, I did mine and you didn't update it yet. Guys, after 3:30, I'm probably not going to be at my computer and updating as much. And so you'll got to give me a little bit of time after 3:30. But I can see what time emails come in, and as long as your email is before 11:59 p.m. The next morning, like if I get to school early and I'm working on things before 8:30 hits or before I start hearing from kids from watching videos, that's when I'll update and change those numbers. So anyway, sorry, long-winded a little bit. Your number 3, I believe, because, right, I think I forgot. Your number 2 was supposed to be make up some 2 random matrices, okay? So you're going to put your own brackets, like right here. Like you're going to put your own bracket and your own bracket. And you can call them, unless you're Michaela, let's see, who else in the class would this not work for? Michaela can't because her name is Michaela Maddox, so she would have to pick a different, maybe her middle initial is different than M. I think nobody else is popping into mind right now, but I apologize if I am forgetting about you. If your initials are the same, you wouldn't be able to do this, but I would call this one like R. And then I could make it a 2 by 2 or whatever I want it to be. And then J would be something else. But I want you to make it so that you can multiply your first initial by your last initial. Okay, so that's my fault for getting in there. That was number 2. And number 3 is going to be when you did C times A, did you get it right or wrong? So I'm about to show you the answer, and that way you already know what the answer is, and you don't have to ask me. You can confirm, you can look through. I have the work, I have all of the work written out here for it. It's in a little bit of a different order than I did it back there, but I think you'll still be able to figure it out. So number 3 is, did you get it right or wrong? And then please make sure you upload that to Classroom, and I can see when you upload it. So again, make sure that you upload it before 11:59 p.m. tonight. Thank you.